energy seems to be a big part of what's missing in athletes' life when they leave the game.
Yeah.
And they don't realize how important it is. Welcome to Entrepreneurs the Playbook. I'm David Meltzer, and I have a new best friend, and I decided to invite him on the playbook. We share so many things in common, but most importantly, we share our frequency. His name is Chip Paucek. If you haven't heard of him, he's a co-founder, co-CEO of the next YPO, which I call the YPO of professional athletes, PAC, the pro athlete community. Welcome to the playbook, Chip.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here, and we are on the same frequency. So it was really my honor to have you as a presenter and a panelist at our pro athlete community, our first ever pro basketball summit we just held, and it was remarkable. And you were a huge highlight. So I love
Oh,
it.
well, you had me at hello. Like I said, I can't wait to do more. And you'll see more of David Meltzer with PAC in all the different sports, with all the talented athletes. What was most impressive to me uh, with you as a co-founder, you've had great success. You've had exits, you've built teams, you've invested wisely, and in every sense of the word, like myself in my 30s, you have every reason to feel passion and purpose and fulfillment in your previous success. But I had a feeling when we were talking that even though most people outside of you would have said, "Oh my gosh, I wish I was Chip. He's amazing. All these successes," that it was somehow not enough. And that not enough feeling is it's deleterious in what we do. It's interfering of our potential in the successes you have. Was there a feeling of not enough? And if so, has PAC fulfilled what was missing?
Boy, that's we're starting off deep. I would tell you, very proud of what I've done. Feel like I'm nowhere near done. The PAC is my fourth education company. And I think it's by far the most important thing that I've done. Um, you know, like you, big believer in social entrepreneurship. If you can find a big problem as an entrepreneur and solve a problem for people, you can really do extremely well. And I really believe in the sustainability of businesses. It's a lot harder to sustain a nonprofit, and so I really think PAC is onto something huge here. And but I also reflect upon various, I'm 54, and yes, I've done some stuff. I took a company public and I got it to 1 billion in revenue. But that story is not all up and to the right. That story had its own tremendous ups and downs. And I'm an open book, so I'm pretty comfortable sharing all of it. So I feel like I have at this stage of my life so much more to give. I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing, and I have the ability to change people's lives in doing it. And it's been a joy to do it with this new team, a really incredible team of people that we've assembled. So you saw it right. I think your radar was good. Like I'm not done, and I think PAC is wildly fulfilling. So
And one of the other aspects when I got involved in sports agentry, I learned what I called this bug light approach to the success that later on Warren Moon and I had with Sports One Marketing, the global marketing company, was that if you bring the great athletes, then they're actually bug lights to attract all the right people, right ideas that create the social impact. So I had an entire business model which was leverage all the great athletes that we had, bring them to charitable events surrounding the best sporting events in the world, and we could attract all the other high frequency people to help build and support these great charities, and hundreds of them over the years. When I walked into the room, as you had the event in Las Vegas, I feel energy, and energy seems to be a big part of what's missing in athletes' life when they leave the game,
yeah,
and they don't realize how important it is. You seem to really hone in on this desire, this energy, this essence that each of these athletes have, and help them market it, capture it, and utilize it for good.
yeah. I mean, you nailed it. So pro athlete community is a. I know you said YPO for pro athletes. That's true. It's a new locker room for their long-term future. A locker room they'll never get cut from. And there's two types of people in the locker room. There's like-minded men and women who played pro sports that are investing in themselves. That last part's non-trivial. And then people like you and I that have done interesting things in the world that will pour into them for the right reasons. Not there to, take a cut or to, sell them anything. They're there education and mentoring. And what I find remarkable, David, now that I'm closer to it, is how challenging their job was, and people don't get it. People immediately think, oh, these guys, oh, or these gals, they made so much money. They had it so easy. No, they had it remarkably difficult, and the world severely judged them if they did anything that was not whatever their thing was. So if they're a football player and they ever showed that they were doing anything but football, they were told they were not serious and they were at risk of being cut. On top of that, every Tuesday there's like a corporate layoff in the NFL where there's people coming in trying to take your job, and then when you get cut, you often get handed a black trash bag. So like the McCourty brothers are board chairs of our advisory board, and they've openly told the story of like one of the things they say to the players at Pack is like Pack will never give you a black trash bag. So putting good people around good people, what is so inspiring about the athletes to sort of get to your point is they are elite in every way that the world wants. They didn't typically make it because of their athletic ability. That's table stakes. Like it's pure table stakes. They made it because of a bunch of traits that you and I as employers are trying to hire for. Grit, rigor, determination, drive, teamwork, the ability to give and receive feedback. All these things are built into their day-to-day with 80,000 people screaming their name coming out of the tunnel. And so when it ends, they go through a really challenging transition away from the game. And unfortunately, a lot of these folks go to a dark place. So, and candidly, even the ones that don't go to a dark place are looking for what that inspiration may be that's next. And I think that's something that resonated with you is when when you're talking to the guys that were there, whether it's Anthony Tolliver or Hassan Whiteside or Mario Chalmers, or they're incredible players, but they're there, CJ Watts and CJ Miles. They're there because they're inspired to be inspired of what's coming next. And they're also so young. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm, 80, but at 54 at PAC, I'm one of the older people in the room. And I would tell you, I have a lot left. I'm nowhere near done. I got a couple decades where I'm going to go at whatever whatever's for me exciting. And they are typically, particularly in the NFL, when these guys are to tell somebody that they're retired at 28, what are you talking about? It's crazy.
Yeah, it was interesting because one of the things that resonated while I was there with the young guys was when I told them, although I'm 57 and older, not in good a shape, not faster, stronger, or smarter than any of them, that I knew one thing. I learned how to stop interfering with the infinite energy that I've been blessed with as part of this unbelievable universe. And I said, and if you guys want to come shadow me, I promise you, you'll be sleeping in the back seat of my car by 4 o'clock. And I was a little bit worried about saying that because of the competitive nature or whatever, but the humility and the understanding was beautiful. And there's three aspects to pack. As the next event is approaching, which I'm praying and begging will allow me to be a part of again because it was
Oh
one
yeah,
of the
brother,
best things.
you are in.
Yes, so Dallas, September 15th to 20th. But there was three aspects, that were there. One was mentorship. You bring in these people like the world's best CMOs and branding and PR and financial, tax, philanthropy, all the best mentorship. So there's these people giving directions to get and help them get to where they want to be or better. And then you have great teachers, people who can explain shit. And the humility is important because a lot of people are afraid to say, I don't know. Not these guys. They,
Yeah.
they,
Well,
they
let me hit on that because you're so right. And one of the things that I feel like I do bring to the table in the room is once the guys get to know what I've done, they like to hear the story of how I succeeded or what my failures were, and I'm an open book. But they also end up getting, a good amount of respect for me as a human. And I tell them very openly, like, you're never done learning. if you do this right. You don't stop learning. Like it doesn't matter that I, took a company public. The hell does that matter? I have a lot left to learn, and you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and to have both. Like the opening panel we had, we had Russell Westbrook and we had Dave Penske, two very different people that happen to be very close friends. Russell Westbrook's obviously Russell Westbrook, but by the way, what he's done off the court is remarkable, actually. Like remarkable. Like he got like four really significant businesses that he is actually directly running, and he talked about that grind and being uncomfortable, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, like not going to the room, unwilling to admit that you don't know what's happening and learn. And then Penske, Dave Penske runs Publicis US. That's a big, big business, 65,000 employees. And Dave was so awesome to talk about like the basics of like showing up, putting the work in, showing up on time. He said like one of his recommendations is guys show up on time. And so you look at some of these leading lights we bring in, and I do, what I'm proud of is we are able to put people in the room like you, by the way, who will be authentic, not sugarcoat, tell them like it is, but also show them a path to be inspired by something that might be what they burn for. Like, I'm not going to tell them what they should burn for, but when they figure out, I'm going to put things in front of them. And when they figure out what they might burn for, if you get these pros going towards that new goal, it's remarkable to see what happens because you think about like what you said at the beginning, how the I never heard the bug light phrase. It's fat. You're totally right. Like, they are remarkable people who everybody wants to be around, and they don't always realize that. So, we also try to give them some basic skills training that, they certainly didn't get in their leagues.
One of the other aspects is looking at the characteristics of success on the court, for example, with the NBA players, because those are also ignored. A lot of times when players are at the end of their career or preparing for the end of their career on the court, they don't realize. And it's usually indicative of when they say to you, well, I'm looking to transition, Mr. Meltzer. Can you help me transition? I said, well, I don't know anything about that other than people who transition, they transition when they die. What I prefer is to understand the skills and knowledge that you've developed to be the best in the world at something, and then apply those to what's doing well, what's stable, and what you think is doing well off the court. And we can get an acceleration in the success that you have. And in that aspect, one of the things that is so interesting about PAC is there is a deep lesson that a lot of these young gentlemen understand, which is it's not doing, when you play professional sports, and we've been around these guys longer than they've been alive. So that's an advantage I have of being old. I've been around guys like them
By the
longer,
way, you're not, you can't say you're old because then I'm saying I'm old. So
right?
that's not.
Older than them. So, but think about this, that in the aspect, it's they get faced every day with, oh, you're so lucky. You get paid to do what you love. And there's a nuance that I felt at PAC that's so important to success in life is that I believe the success lies in learning to love what you don't like or love about what you love. So I'll use my wife as an example because I am whipped. I've been married 28 years. I have outkicked my coverage. It's the best decision I've ever made in my entire life, or probably will ever make in this entire lifetime. But to that measure, I had to learn to love what I don't like or love about my wife because she's what I love. And if you can do
That's
that,
so well said, dude. You're getting me like emotional. Like it's so well said and it's so true because people are going to look at them and it's all like particularly fans. Fans get crazy about this stuff. Oh, it's all so perfect. No, it's really hard, but if you get to learn, if you get to love the parts that you don't love for the thing you love, and man, I'm 29 years in, so I got you beat on that. I'm
yeah, right on.
That's part of my life. It's not debatable. Gabby is, we met in college. She's been through my entire entrepreneurial journey, the ups, the downs. My first company I ran for 10 years, and, we produced a PBS show, and the show did really well. And we gave a bunch of famous people their first acting job. But the reality is, I sold it for a bag of magic beans, like after 10 years. She went through that whole thing with me. And I love her deeply, and I appreciate that notion. That is a really I'm gonna actually tell her about that conversation tonight because that is perfect.
Well, I love in that perfection as well lies our last point for this interview. There'll be many more to come. Uh, but the last component in PAC, not only do we have mentorship and teaching, but something the players really respond to, which is coaching. But they don't normally apply it to anything outside of what
Yeah.
they've been coached at since they've been 5 or 6 years old. And sometimes they're resistant to somebody trying to bring the best out of them because true coaches, they're not necessarily mentors or teachers of any great aptitude, but a great coach is one that brings the best out of
So
these
true.
individuals. And that's a collective consciousness at PAC. It's not just Dave Meltzer on a panel or Chip or Bonnick or whoever was there. And there were some amazing teachers and mentors there. But the ability to bring the best out of the best, you can change the world.
Oh man, it's so well said. You know what's funny is just being transparent. When we started PAC, I personally totally underestimated the power of the personal coaching. Not that I was against it, but my co-founder, Caleb Thornhill, came from inside the NFL and had built the structure around this with a couple of coaching leaders named Robbie Tubajan and Jay Ross, and they built an incredible coaching program. And when we first launched, the very first cohort, it took me getting through that cohort to see the real power of those coaching sessions to a point where I don't know if we told you this, David, but we built something called Locker Room that allows the guys to be in those small cohorts virtually for 12 months, sort of like YPO Forum does it. So I couldn't agree more that it is a big part of, unlocking that inner win, knowing your core values. Like you're a guy that immediately knows your core values. And the reality is a lot of people in the world don't and haven't thought about it that way. And getting the players to unlock, to do the hard work and the head work that actually, helps them succeed long term is super powerful. So, I just think it's great you saw it. It's great that you saw that come to life. The only other thing I would add is, we take the C very. Where's the C here? We take the C very very seriously. Like, they've had a pretty lonely existence in a bunch of ways, and when the lights go off, the phone's not ringing the same way. And so being around like-minded people that are investing in themselves is really powerful. And I think ultimately that probably is the most important thing we're doing is rebuilding that community for them long term.
Well put on your side as well, because your frequency is your neighborhood, is your community. And that lack of community, especially when you're gone and away from the locker room, is essential. When you surround yourself with good voices, we make good choices. And community today is the most important thing in person, on the phone, email, and social media. And with PAC, we can communicate in all aspects, but especially in person, which everyone should join the PAC. If you're a professional athlete of any type or kind, come and join us in Dallas, September 15th to 20th. If you're looking for a community of people that want to help each other and know people that will help each other at the highest level with the desire that they must be what they can be, then you should become a member of the PAC. The PAC
That's so great,
community,
David.
you are
It's
awesome.
cool. What I tell you is, regardless of the events are life changing, but I also want the folks out there to know if you're a pro athlete and you're listening, please reach out to us either on the web or on Instagram. You can join the community of PAC virtually and, become part of the community. You just have to be a pro. I'm very proud to tell you that I'm the CEO, but I will never be a member. I'm not a pro athlete, and you're special in what you've done. So join us and bring that eliteness to the community.
Great people surround themselves with great people. I am blessed to now surround myself with Chip Paucek, co-founder, co-CEO of Pro Athlete Community. Thank you for allowing me to play a small role in part. I'm happy I'll be there in Dallas as well. Chip, just promise me you'll come back. We got many more shows and many more
Yes, I want to
lessons.
do one. I want to do one in person.
Absolutely. We'll be there at SiriusXM. This is David Meltzer with Chip Paucek with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.